Well, good morning. So, I have a nice, interesting story for today and some comparative analysis, of course, like always, making parallels to real life. And I just wanted to share it with everybody this morning. So, today I would like to refer to myself as the mother of all drops because today we did a group ride, met up in the morning, did a couple loops all together. And what had happened was we all started doing warm-ups, and then what we were going to do is do speed intervals. So we were supposed to go at like a controlled pace at like a pretty good tempo, let's just say like 23 to 24 miles an hour for about a half a mile or a mile, whatever, just all out kind of going. And I took that as we were supposed to just basically just sprint out the gun in a pace line with everybody else behind us. So I started out and I got going what I thought was a pretty good pace. I thought it was halfway sustainable. And I actually, I finished up my portion of it and then I moved to the back. And then what we did is we finished up the rest of the loop, which was like another mile or whatever. And then it was the next person's go. So when it was the next person going, well, we only work out with like these mega elite athletes here on this team. And as soon as the next person got up there, she just gunned it in her top speed, and I just completely got dropped. And it took me the entirety of that 2 or whatever mile loop to get caught right back up to the line. But as soon as we got back up to the beginning of the line, the next person was going. So it was another speed interval and I got dropped. And if you're new to the cycling world, drop just basically means you just can't sustain the speed of the peloton or the group of the cyclists and you fall back. And I was way back. And it was tough. It was mentally tough. It was physically definitely demanding. But I continued to just keep on pushing. And, in my head the whole time, I'm just like beating myself up like, man, I got to get up there. Man, I can't let them, catch up. And, I was just thinking, okay, the main thing I don't want is them to come back around and lap me. So I just kept gunning as much as possible. But my body just wasn't there. My mind was there. But it just didn't feel good today. I didn't feel nice and strong. So I was just really beating myself up the whole time, just thinking, man, all these people are just like way better. They're so much stronger, their lungs and their legs and everything. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm going between making excuses and feeling bad for myself and like looking kind of down on myself in a comparative analysis state. And it just kind of occurred to me that in life, in general, we often do this. We compare, we contrast ourselves with others and other situations. And a lot of times it's from, stuff like this, actually, like social media. So we're doing all this comparison and getting down on ourselves and being upset or maybe like beating down on our self-confidence. But that's just, I think it's human nature to just always like look at contrast, because that's kind of the way that we see things. We see things based on this is good or bad or otherwise in comparison to this. It's all based on contrast. So I think that's just something that we all do, and I don't think that that's necessarily bad. And yes, today, when I got dropped, it wasn't humiliating, but it was humbling. It was a humbling experience. But I'm also working out with people that have been doing triathlon and running and biking races for 20, 30 years, and those are reasons. Also excuses, but these people, that's what they do. They're elite athletes. And I put myself in a group, or I got invited to this group to try to also become that. But I haven't been doing triathlon for that long. I haven't been doing triathlon. I haven't been doing cycling for that long. So I'm going to get there. So bringing it all around and looking at it from a comparative and analytical and compassionate mindset, I think it's important for us to think about things in different terms. And that means comparing ourselves to where we were yesterday, or where we were last week, or where we were a year ago. And I think that's the most important thing when we look at comparison, is to see actually where we are when we're setting our goals and we're setting our intentions. And that's part of this whole intentional vet thing. And I think, when we actually write down our goals, or we make an intent to do something, we have this plan and we can actually structure it and measure it by looking at where we were and how far we've come. And that's the comparative analysis that we should be looking at. And that's the comparative perspective that we should be thinking about. So we're compassionate to ourselves. We don't need to compare ourselves to people on social media, people that are extremely rich or have these big businesses, or the super moms, that are perfect, or super dads, or whatever, these fitness models. That's something good we could potentially strive for. But as I always say, you're not going to lose weight from one run. You're not going to look like that fitness model just from going out on a couple bike rides. You have to make goals and you have to set milestones. And your successes should be based on what you've actually done and how far you have accomplished. So I'm going to take this lesson from myself for today as a humbling experience and also as a growth experience. So I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be compassionate with myself, and you know what? I'm going to set this as a milestone and set this as a baseline, and then go from there and see how far I get next time I ride with a group. And hopefully I can get I can stay closer and closer, and maybe I don't get dropped on the second interval already. Maybe I'll get dropped on the third one. But I think that's what's important. Compare yourself to yourself. Don't look at other people because they've been doing it. You don't know what their situation is. You don't know what their genes are. You don't know what their food intake. You don't know what their sleep is. Compare yourself to yourself and look at yourself from an entirety of the balance perspective. Sleep, food, emotional stability, spiritual stability, physical stability, and then just make these buckets. And what we're going to be doing here in the future is we're going to be going over what buckets are important to you and what you need to do for each bucket individually to be that elite balance individual. Okay? And everybody's eliteness, everybody's balance is going to be different. It's all relative to where we're at. So I think it was just an important little topic that I was thinking about on the ride, and I just wanted to share it. So what does everybody think about it? And I'd love to hear from people, and I look forward to keeping going. So intentional vet out. Everybody have a beautiful day. I know here in Florida it was a little bit cold. I know the Wisconsin people that are paying attention don't want to hear that, but it was about 55 this morning. So that's why I'm all dressed up and warm. So all right, well, thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you guys later.